Thank you. I was scared for the intro. I was like, actually, maybe we can skip. Um, but I hope I can live up to it. So, welcome everyone to this week's weekly planning meeting. Um, Let me see if I could do this. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. For anyone who's new, we go over introductions, people who haven't introduced themselves or met others can at the very beginning. We go over core KPIs, and then every pod leader goes over weekly updates, what happened last week and what you're focused on this week. Please stay muted unless you're the one speaking, and the call is recorded. Usually doesn't last 30 minutes, but max 30 minutes of your time. Anyone here new to this call and would like to introduce themselves, what you're working on, why you joined MetricsDAO? I'm looking through the list. Um,
Sadly, I think we're all regulars.
I know, I was wondering, I was like, Chance, have you talked before? We've definitely met, but okay, I'll keep going. A few general updates from Meg.
Yeah. So believe it or not, it's that time again. This week is our last week of season 2, so we are focused on um, achieving our season 2 goals, wrapping up things that are currently in process. And then the next 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of October, are going to be our off season. Off season is something a lot of DAOs do that I think is a really healthy practice for the organization, taking 2 weeks in between one season and the next season. First, to reflect on how the previous season went. Where did we do well? Where did we do poorly? What have we learned? Tried a ton of stuff. We've grown a lot over the past season. Let's make sure that we are like truly learning from that and taking the time to identify where we may need to refocus or pivot in the following season. And then the second week will be focused on the planning process. Having identified a couple of opportunities or pain points in week 1, in week 2, we'll be all in on how do we attack those. What are the goals we want to set for ourselves? What are the resources we need to achieve those goals? What are the ideas we have to execute on in order to achieve those goals? In both of these activities, you can do one of them, you can do both of them, the retro and planning phase. And we do ask for active participation and welcome active participation. These are not activities that are going to be just open for people to listen in, like this meeting is. If you attend, we expect engagement and participation. And again, welcome engagement and participation from anyone who is interested. So we will use this meeting next week. We'll probably extend it to an hour. And we'll kick off that off season with a retro. The following week, there's a few planning sessions scheduled. One for curation, one for X metric distribution, and another for protocol development. And again, anyone who's interested in participating in those, please raise your hand. Would be happy to have you. We already know that we are going to be starting off season 3 on an auspicious note. We are actually going to be running some bounties for sushi and near that Flipside has historically run through MetricsDAO. So this is a really awesome growth opportunity for MetricsDAO, an opportunity for Flipside to take a little bit off of their plate, and they're actually outsourcing these bounty programs to MetricsDAO. So again, super cool opportunity. We're excited to try out our process here and excited to produce a lot of great analytics for Sushi and Near. And finally, we've got an overview of governance participation. We have had a ton of governance activity over the last couple of weeks. Thank you, Nan, for leading and shepherding that process. And thought it would be good to do a quick review of how does one participate in governance. when I'm hounding people to vote, who am I hounding and what do we need them to do? So Nan, I'm going to hand it over to you for the next slide.
For sure. Thank you. So I'm just gonna go through the entire process real quick. It's pretty simple. Um, Proposals start on the forum. Anyone can comment there. You don't have to be a contributor or anything. I don't. If anyone in this call is not a contributor, but um, yeah. So basically, anyone can comment there. Feedback is taken for about 48 hours, but we generally haven't seen much. I would love to get more people commenting on things and seeing if like they actually agree with proposals and whatever. If nothing goes, if there's no like proposal breaking feedback, we'll push it to a temp check. That can be voted on anyone with a contributor badge. That stays open for 48 hours, and that's optimistic. So we don't need to meet any quorum there. But if there are no votes, we'll like push it back, and no votes are expected to come with some explanation, just so that we don't have nothing to go on why something didn't pass. If something does get through a temp check, we send it to a ratification vote, which is coming down to like a governor council. There's I think 16 of us right now, but we're probably going to cut that down in the off season. We'll see. But anyone that a governor badge can vote there, and um, that's actually not optimistic. That needs to pass quorum 51%. And then once that happens, it's official policy, and whatever execution can happen after that. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to do this, but that's all I got.
You crushed it, Nan. Thank you.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. I just had a hard time finding my unmute button.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nan.
Analytics. Let's look at some KPI. So as I was catching up on this, I think a lot of you know, but our dashboards are a bit behind. So we actually have 1,781 submissions, not 1,000. This is the known issue over here. And I mean, excited for season 3 where we'll have Sushi and Near. Right now we have, I think, Goldfinch and DAO. 325 analysts and 4 stellar submissions, which is 12 out of 12. But we do have 29 who have 10.5 grade in season 2. So that's a pretty good, 30 quality analysts in our mix, or really good quality. I mean, all our analysts are amazing, but peer review, 8 programs reviewed, which previously we saw there were 10, so I'm guessing 2 are about to start or have Goldfinch is being reviewed right now. 22 reviewers and known issue. I don't know if this is still the case, missing score convergence.
Yeah, this is just a call out that we could do a little bit more analysis on if the reviewers' scores agree with each other or not. So something that we should be able to do once our data is in Snowflake.
Awesome. Xmetric, I added a bunch of experiments we're leading to distribute more Xmetric. So just a reminder, feel free to remind other people, there's a BD referral, 500 Xmetric. We give out shout outs. If you participate in one of our workshops, you get 200 Xmetric. So like if you're being interviewed or giving a demo. And so right now we have 427 people who have received Xmetric. Which is pretty good. I think we have a goal. I'm forgetting now. Meg, do you remember what's our goal for Xmetric by end of year?
Oh my God. I presented this last week and I have total Monday brain. I forget the total number of tokens. I'm sorry, this is very much my job to know it. But what we have an eye towards is really growing the number of participants or Xmetric holders before we launch the liquid metric token. Because the way that we look at Xmetric holders is they're participants. They're generating activities and rewards in the protocol. And we want to grow this to a number that we feel can support a healthy and functioning metric protocol and metric token economy. And so the number that we've identified for Xmetric holders is 4,000, which is roughly 10x what we have today. And again, I'll plug one of those planning sessions during the off season. So continue to be a really big focus for us to figure out how to generate more activity in the program and distribute more Xmetric.
Thank you. And as a reminder, our goal for season 2 was to grow. I'm saying was, but this week still grow a 3-step process, run all partnerships through it, and we're accomplishing this by we will participate in protocol testing with Polygon and Xmetric, which we've seen we're doing. Figure out how to activate Mentor Circle into a community growth engine, and hire a new BD lead, which I think is still a work in progress. But the other 2 are very much active. Bounty Ops. I think Aaron.
Yeah, I can cover this. So we were able to deliver the submission last week for DAO for Q1. We've also made some improvements to the showcase page, so make sure to check that out. We'd love your feedback. Inaccurate submissions there will be flagged, so we'll be seeing less frequency of those. And we started to support the growth team with the Xmetric campaign, which is going to be one of the priorities this week. Actually, if you guys could refresh, I think this slide here, it looks like if we go back to yeah, there we go. Sorry, I updated it a little bit while we were talking. For this week, we're going to score the second Q2 submission with an iterative approach, finalize the Goldfinch submission. We're working to complete an agreement here and then hopefully start planning for Guard program launch based off whatever they're able to decide with us. As mentioned, we're planning on launching Near and Sushi bounties for semester 3. So working with the Flipside Pro Ad team to make sure that we're delivering what the partner needs there, since we are leveraging, one of the Flipside partners to run bounty questions through MDAO. So that's really exciting. And then the last is, as we mentioned, is to review those Xmetric master applications to see if we can add a few more individuals to, our elite analysts and Xmetric masters. With that, I think kind of the questions and things that we've seen as blockers overall, just for bounty ops as well as the bounty program, is there's a little bit of a lack of an iterative process within the analytical phase of the bounty cycle. What we're seeing is, our analysts are getting our submissions in a timely manner, but there's always been feedback either from us or our partners on what could be done to make those better and really deliver. If we can figure out how to implement that in during the week versus waiting for, the submissions to be almost complete in that week to end, we'll build a faster and better process here to delivering what our partners are looking for, as well as, providing opportunities for our analysts to level up their skills and understand, really what people are looking for. And I think the second kind of blocker and concern that we have and kind of discussion that we've been kicking off is an incentivization structure that encourages teamwork. Right now, we are seeing that one of our blockers for really delivering the highest and elite quality of insights is essentially how do we start to group people together. 1 + 1 should always equal more than 2, but we need to figure out a way to generate that within this community, within the DAO. So we're starting to think about that because it will continue to be a blocker on delivering the best insights we possibly can. I know that's a lot. I know I talked for a second, but if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Feel free to write them also in the chat if you prefer.
No questions from me, but I'll just say that was awesome, Aaron. Glad to have you working with us on this team and appreciate you diving into concerns and blockers as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is great.
Protocol dev.
Yeah, hey everyone. So last week was a bit of a slow week as we had a company offsite and vacations. But as a part of that, we had a ton of discussions and got a ton of clarity around pretty much everything. And they're still ongoing and it's wonderful. This week we are hammering on the new app, the new UIs, building that out, hoping to do a public beta. Also this week, hoping to find a date for that public beta so we can stop being ambiguous about it. We're also not on the slide, but as of half an hour ago, thinking about kind of revisiting our data modeling to limit a lot of the assumptions we've had to make about how bounty programs, like codifying how bounty programs operate on the protocol, which is risky business. I've had some awesome ideas about how to revisit in a much more loosely defined manner, leveraging a lot of Web3 primitives, which is incredibly powerful. Still processing all that. Sorry for getting rambly. We're also like digging a bit into the graph because we have metadata slowness, and the graph seems like the most viable solution right now. And the last piece is we are all actively aware that we're not the best at building in public. So one of the themes that's come up a lot is just having like developer jams on the build in public channel or build in public 2 channel when they're empty when we're around. And so if y'all are around, take a look. You might see some of our protocol development team in there. Please do feel free to listen in and share your thoughts. Thanks.
I don't want to impose more scheduling to how you work, but if you do want to announce them, let me know. That'd be really cool. We could schedule them.
I think we're actually consciously not scheduling them to make it easier for everyone on the team to commit and actually just jump on Discord when they're doing their work, as opposed to like,
Have to make a
yeah,
specific time. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Ed. BizDev. Is that Meg or Drake?
Oh, it's me. Um, I almost forgot for a second. But lots going on the biz dev side. A win from last week, our Bicotomy grant was granted. We are looking for an onboarding note from them today about the amount and details of the grant. But really excited to kick that off as soon as we get more details from them. We also had some interesting intro calls. Aaron mentioned the guard one that we're moving forward this week. Another intro call with a Cosmos potential partner called Archway. They're launching at the end of the year, so we're just kind of keeping that relationship warm for now. Worth noting that there's some good energy around Cosmos these days. And so thinking about doing more prospecting in that ecosystem, particularly as we bring on a BD lead. This week, kicking off Bicotomy, delivering that proposal to Guard, thanks to Aaron's lift there. More interviews for BD lead. One of these days we will hire someone. We're, keeping our standards high, but this is definitely a pain point. And that's all.
Thanks, Meg. DAO Ops.
This one too. Also.
I can grab the treasury piece here. So payments processing, we totally cleared out the payment backlog today. So contributor payments went out as well as a number of other payments for bounty hunters or people involved in the participatory network. Bills should be getting those into the payment schedule later so that we have clear documentation for anyone that was paid. I'll take the priority side as well, Nan, and then hand it back to you. So just continuing to keep clearing the backlog, as well as getting ready for month end and some multi-sig updates that, Nan can maybe say a little bit more about, and I'll throw over to you.
Okay. So we had 2 proposals for switching out some multi-sig signers to kind of speed up multi-sig transactions. Those are both through the whole governance process, and I think execution also started on them. We had 2 proposals go up on the forum about getting X metric to contributors and also a code of conduct. Those actually both got feedback on it, which was super great. We might be pushing one of those to temp check today. I'll check in with the process on that. We also got our constitution published and announced, which is amazing. So now we have a public governance structure that we can tell people and point people to. This week, we're going to maybe get this X metric proposal through governance. There's only time this week. We start temp check today. We would end it on Wednesday, and then we would have ratification that would go through Friday, and that would be like right to the end of our season. So that's probably going to be the last proposal we get done. But I'm also just going to check in on payment reconciliation so we can get that like started as soon as next season. That's all.
It's a great call
Yeah.
out. Things like payment reconciliation, like let's keep pushing those through during the off season. We definitely don't want people to wait on payments.
Yes, and sorry, I was going to clarify. Is this here about kind of the reconciliation or the statute of limitations on payments?
Yeah, that one.
Okay,
Oh,
but let me get back into that one this week, and I will recruit helpers as needed. Put that on my list to own.
Curation.
I'll take this one. So moving ahead with Terra, I got our blocks table completed in the past couple of days, and the PR for transactions table is in review, which would be great. Jumping over a slight blocker on that is that there are block gaps, which have been reported to Flipside. So while we can turn on access to the data, it would not be complete. So I still kind of want to wait on that, at least to get a timeline from the Flipside product engineering team, figure out when that could be backfilled, if it's going to be quick or if it's going to take a long time. Priorities are going to be, getting that access out there. We owe the Terra community, some data. Got to deliver on our grant. So if it's a short enough timeline, I'm leaning towards getting blocks and transactions out there, knowing that that gap is going to be backfilled as they move forward. So I'll connect with Paul on that in the next couple of days after they've got some EVM priorities first. And then continuing to model out transactions, specifically the messages, so the data is a little bit easier to work with. And then there are also 4 open PRs for NEAR that need to be reviewed and pushed through, just making the data easier to work with, improving our models, especially in advance of those bounties coming through MetricsDAO, continuing to keep an eye on that data while having most of the focus be on Terra is going to kind of be the goal moving forward. I think the primary concern really is that we are behind schedule. We didn't put any timeline in our grant to Terra, but we set one internally that we are falling behind, and it's high time to deliver and start getting some data out there for them before I think kind of the worst case scenario then would be for them to come to us and ask kind of where is it. So I want to start delivering that before we get to that type of a point. And largely that is an unknown timeline with the blocks gap that I need to connect the team with, so we'll figure that out. Sounds good, Meg. But yeah, NEAR's in a good spot. We'll continue to make it easier to work with for those bounties that are coming out, and we will get Terra out as soon as possible and start pumping out some tables.
Sounds good. Thanks, Forg. This is me. So last week, we did our first hire broke into Web3 with Peter the Rock, which is going to go up on YouTube if you were not able to make it. It was super cool, super interactive. People loved it. And also more people have reached out to be part of this and be interviewed. So it's pretty cool to see. And Helix wrote a blog post on DuneCon, which he attended, which is up on our blog if you haven't read it yet, also shared on Twitter. This week we have so much, probably shouldn't start like that, but we have Data and Chill, which Endural is leading on Solana NFT ecosystem data. And someone else from our community is there to talk about it as well. I forgot their name. We have a Twitter Spaces this Friday on Ethereum post-merge. For those of you who maybe know Vahid, he'll be hosting and asking questions mostly to Carlos, who is the co-founder of TrueFreeze, for those of you who worked on TrueFreeze bounties, and Megafund, who is on our growth team. So this should be super cool. We're about to put out a Twitter thread tonight, sharing a bunch of dashboards, and then we'll invite everyone to come join us on Friday to discuss those dashboards and just like talk and stuff about it. I'm really excited. Should be really good. It's also in your Discord events if you want that as a reminder. Recap and the recording of last week's How I Broke into Web3. We are also continuing to do the Xmetric Masters campaign, which Bounty Ops is helping us grade. We got 22 applications. First glance, all of them seem to be really good quality, like not spam. So that's exciting. We are distributing access to Transpose. So it's like a promo code and it gives you access to their developer access option thing. And so we're giving those out this week. And last but not least, Code of Conduct is going through governance this week as well. So follow the process that Nan talked about at the beginning. And we're excited to get your votes and feedback on it. And unless there are any questions or comments, that's everything.
Thanks, Rochelle.
Thanks, everyone. See you next Monday for this.
Thanks,
but also
y'all.
see you this one.
Thanks, everyone.